Brothers, today we're talking about people pleasing and how common it is for most men to people please as a form of nervous system response. This technical word for it is called fawning. And fawning is a way of diminishing impact and reducing uncertainty in our lives as men. Think about it. How many times have you been in a certain conversation with someone where it kind of got heated? Or maybe you were in a relationship with a woman who's like absolutely intense in her expression, and you may suddenly find yourself apologizing for something you've never done. And this here is a nervous system response. And we're looking at how to prepare our nervous systems as men so that when we go forward in our lives, when we're pursuing our life's purpose, when we're trying to grow our businesses, when we're looking for our life partners, that we don't resort to this people pleasing behavior. Listen, I used to be a chronic people pleaser. And I was told that a man has to be calm, cool, and collective, like James Bond. So, for most of my life, every time there was a circumstance where there was a dispute, a disagreement, or maybe I was just standing up for my own needs and asking for my needs, I would constantly resort to people pleasing behavior, saying I'm sorry when I wasn't, apologizing and making jokes about things that obviously they weren't funny, but I was trying to bring humor to the circumstance so that I could diminish the impact of it. Later, I realized that this is a nervous system response. In fact, when your nervous system is untrained, you're going to constantly diminish the impact in all parts of your life, whether it's in the boardroom or in the bedroom, where things get heightened and uncertainty increases. And uncertainty, listen to this, uncertainty, listen to this, uncertainty is where all miracles exist. So if you're asking for your dreams, if you're asking for miracles to happen in your life, if you're manifesting things in your life that are beyond what you've ever achieved, you as a man need to become extremely comfortable in uncertain environments, because in that uncertain space is where newness, opportunity, possibility, and creativity exists. So, a practice that we're doing this week is we're really training our nervous system to withstand uncertainty at higher and higher levels. And what this could look like is something as big as when your wife or your girlfriend gets angry and she's yelling and screaming at you, where you would have otherwise said sorry, where you would have otherwise avoided, where you would have otherwise fought her and told her to shut up, or whether you otherwise would have just ran away and said, I'm sorry. These are all nervous system responses. So instead of these, what we're going to practice doing this week is just holding the tension. And holding the tension, even the word itself says, I'm going to be holding myself in a space of tensionality. Because in the field of tension is where all of creativity exists, isn't it? Without tension, without polarity, without that feeling of connection and resistance all at the same time, how could you ever create anything new in your life? So, as we practice holding the tension in our body, what we're doing is we're not allowing our nervous system to succumb to people pleasing or fight, flight, freeze response. And I've shared this in my past videos. Each of us have a nervous system, and this nervous system is over 200 million years old. It's the first piece of hardware that each of us ever received. And so when we have this hardware, that's only job is to save us from death. And this nervous system that we have and we've had for millions of years, it was not designed for modern day situations. So in modern day, your nervous system from 200 million years ago does not understand business. It does not understand Bitcoin. It does not understand social media. And so when you're putting yourself in certain circumstances, which could actually be filled, filled with possibility, most of the times your nervous system does not recognize that this circumstance that you're in is actually a circumstance filled with opportunity. And when untrained, your nervous system in spaces of uncertainty and conflict suddenly turns on. And this nervous system, called the autonomous nervous system response or autonomic nervous system response, it's like an autonomous vehicle. You've seen these Waymo vehicles that, like, you get in the back seat and they drive for you. You don't touch the wheel. The same goes for your nervous system. And when the nervous system turns on because it assumes that there's a threat, while in reality, there might be an actual huge opportunity in front of you. Think about you walking up to an amazingly gorgeous woman who's way out of your league. Your nervous system is shaking. It's telling you to run. It's telling you to joke and diminish yourself. And instead of doing that, you just breathe and you allow your breath to slow you down. And in that moment, you remind your body that you are infinitely safe and that you are actually in a space of opportunity, not a space of danger. And for every moment that you stay in that field of uncertainty, for every second that you hold the tension where you would have otherwise left, ran away, made a stupid joke, asked about how the weather was, or literally just froze, instead, what you're doing is you're now having access to way more data, way more resource, way more opportunity, and way more miracles. And so, as you continue to train your nervous system, I want you to put yourself in different circumstances that you would have typically ejected or avoided from. And instead of running or people pleasing or saying, I'm sorry, I want you to just hold your heart open. And holding your heart open means that you're actually just being really present. And even though your body is telling you run for the hills, you're just going to breathe. And inside of yourself, you're going to have a conversation and you're going to say to yourself, I got this. I got this. I'm safe. I'm safe. This is safe, actually. I don't need to do anything. I don't need to fight. I don't need to flight. I don't need to people please and pretend like I'm a joker, a small child. I could just hold myself available in this moment and see what happens in the next moment. And in this, brothers and sisters, you're going to start to have really powerful, expansive experiences where you would have otherwise shut down and people notice that you're actually holding and you're available. And in this space, what you're really doing is you're allowing more resource to come into your life. The resource of more romance, the resource of more intimacy, the resource of more business opportunities, the resource of more connection with other human beings where most people avoid and run away or they diminish, and you're just available and you're working on your nervous system. And this here is actually what this SWAT team members train on when they go into combat, because you know that in the field of combat, it's really intense, right? And if your nervous system is untrained, what happens is in that field of combat, you will likely resort to one of the four nervous system responses. We said fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And I see this in the military. When they take a new SWAT team member who is untrained and they throw him in a building filled with loud sounds and lights and fake bullets, the untrained nervous system SWAT team person runs in there and they have one of the four following responses. Depending on the type of nervous system they have when it's untrained, many of the SWAT team members, they actually run out of the room and they take off their gear and like, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't do this anymore, right? What is that? That is flight, and that's a flight nervous system response. Then there are those who are in this building with an untrained nervous system, and suddenly their nervous system kicks in and they shoot the wrong person. They shoot their own comrade. They shoot their own teammate. This happens all the time in combat because the nervous system doesn't know what to do. So it fights, but it's shooting at the wrong person instead of staying available and being perfectly tactile and completely specific in your delivery of what you want to create in the world. And so when a combat person shoots their own comrade, that's a nervous system response. And it's them saying, oh shit, I had to fight and I didn't think clearly. about what I was doing. And so you, as a man, have that in your life all the time. You know that time where you get into an argument with somebody you absolutely love, whether it's your mother, your father, your wife, and you absolutely love this person. They're your comrade, but suddenly your nervous system kicks in because you're triggered, and then you shoot the wrong person and you say something or you do something that hurts the very people that you actually love, adore, and care about as a man. This is your nervous system. And as you start to train your nervous system with me, what you're going to start realizing is you're not going to shoot at the wrong people. There's no reason for that. And going back to the SWAT team member, there's other responses. We've seen SWAT team members, they go into these buildings and they freeze. And when it's time to shoot the perpetrator, they can't do it. Their body locks up. So as you start to do this type of nervous system training, you're not going to lock up anymore. And this was something that I used to really struggle with. Man, I used to struggle with this often. This was one of my nervous system responses. The first one was fawning. I was always people pleasing, making silly jokes, trying to diminish impact just so I could be quote unquote kind and generous. And in actuality, what I was really doing is I was just diminishing myself and I was betraying myself all the time to make other people feel comfortable. Then I resorted to freezing. And I see this all the time. And oftentimes I have to even catch myself because I find myself sometimes freezing when the stock market goes down, when my investment portfolio suddenly gets reduced by a lot of money. I freeze. And instead of taking action, doing more research, looking at the stock market, opening my stock portfolios, I start to kind of avoid it and not even address it. How often does that work in your life where something critical is happening and as a man you're like, "Oh, let me see if it'll just go away by itself if I ignore it." And you know that a healthy masculine man will actually address the topic, but not fight, just address it. So this happens very often in all parts of our lives. And my goal is to help you reprogram yourself because the more you start to stand in the field of uncertainty without flighting, without fighting, without freezing, and without fawning, the more you become available to miracles, the more you're able to connect with the field of possibility, the more you're able to address your mission, your vision, your values in life instead of constantly being hijacked by this old nervous system that is left untrained. The last example I have for a SWAT team member is people who go into these buildings, they're untrained and they have the gun, and suddenly, instead of shooting the perpetrator, they offer the perpetrator a Coca-Cola and they're like, "How you doing, brother? Are you okay?" And another word for this is called Stockholm syndrome, where somebody is held captive by a perpetrator and they don't know what to do. So they start to make friends with the perpetrator. This is a survival mechanism. And your nervous system is a survival hardware. So, my question to you is where in your life is your nervous system taking over when there's actually possibility and opportunity? And instead, your nervous system assumes that it is danger and it pulls you out of the situation, the circumstance. So, my recommendation to you after watching this video is not only start to recognize where, as a man, you're betraying yourself, where you're saying, "I'm sorry," when you're not, when you're joking, when you're actually serious, where you give way to somebody, where you're actually meant to take charge, where you allow people to interrupt you when in reality you're like, "No, I need to finish this sentence and I'll give you an opportunity next." And so the more you start to practice, not just placing yourself in high levels of uncertainty, high levels of intimacy. Intimacy could be many times you're in a intimate space with your client and you start to fawn and you start to joke. Or it could be romantic intimacy. You're intimate with a woman and she opens her heart to you. And most men who don't know how to stand in that field of uncertainty, they've never been in that heightened level of intimacy with someone, they eject, they avoid, or they drink alcohol because it's too intense for them. I used to do that all the time. So this week, what you're doing is you're really focusing on like, how do I practice holding myself in heightened levels of uncertainty, heightened levels of intimacy, heightened levels of conflict without ejecting, avoiding, begging, pleading, saying I'm sorry, just holding it, just even if it's just another second, and trusting myself as a man that not only am I safe, but that I would address the circumstance if I did something wrong. Recognizing that as a man, you can always apologize if you hurt someone, but do not apologize before you've hurt someone. Because every time you do that, you're reducing your value, your worth as a healthy, honorable man, a man of integrity. So how often are you breaking your own integrity and pretending like it's okay? And for those of you who are doing this work, who've been with me for some time, you're learning about this work at higher levels. Now you get to stay in the field of uncertainty more comfortably, breathing, saying, thank you, God. In this moment, I'm grateful. Thank you. I'm safe. I'm safe. And in that space, how are you opening your heart? Are you just holding as a posture? Are you just holding as a form of militancy? Or are you holding yourself available in the field of uncertainty from a place of service? And how does your service look when everything is uncertain? How does it look? What is it curated like? And are you able to open your heart and be present, non judgmental, and loving in that moment where somebody is yelling at you? One of my favorite examples is I had just dated my wife. And after 5 or 6 dates, we had not been married yet. I did something that really upset her. And her response was to start yelling at me. And before I started doing this work, anytime somebody would yell at me, I would immediately interrupt them and I would ask them to calm down. And I would tell them that if they're going to speak with me, that they need to speak in a very calm tone, or else I was going to walk away to let them cool off. In fact, most psychologists and coaches in business, they tell you when someone is overheated, step away, let them cool off, and then come back. And my perspective of that is that that's actually a nervous system response of flight. So what I started to do, and this is something I want you to really practice and really listen to me on this. My woman was yelling at me, screaming in my face. And my body was like going into a space of anger. And I told myself, oh my God, I'm so angry. Like, I want to either run away or I want to like strangle this person who's yelling in my face, or I want to tell her to shut the hell up. But because I've been practicing this powerful work of nervous system mastery, I stopped myself. And in that moment, while uncertainty and conflict got really increased, I started to take a deep breath while still holding my heart open. My girlfriend continued to yell. She yelled and yelled and yelled and yelled. And I was restraining myself. I was available. I wasn't shutting down. I wasn't telling her to shut up. And when she finished, I took a deep breath. And I said to her, darling, are you complete? And she looked at me like, wait, what? And she started yelling again. What do you mean, am I complete? You didn't hear me what I said. I can't believe what you did. She just went at it again. And again, I held my attention. Hold the tension. Hold. I was breathing. I was listening. I was available. My body wanted to run. I said, no, you're standing right here. Let's see what happens in the next moment. She finally finished. I took a deep breath, checked in with myself, made sure that I was safe. And then I said to her, do you feel complete around your share? And she took a deep breath and she said, yes. And I said to her, I'm so grateful. I'm so honored that you shared that with me. Thank you so much for letting me feel this part of you. I'm so honored. How can I be of service to you in this moment? Her response was life-changing. She took a deep breath and she started crying. And she couldn't stop crying. And notice, even while she cried, I didn't just jump in there and say, please stop crying. Don't worry, you got this. I just held the tension. As I held the tension, it gave her space to experience something she's never experienced before. How many women have a chance to yell and scream without a man like their father punishing them, telling them to shut up, telling them to go to their room, telling them that they're going to keep their mouth closed? How often does someone get an opportunity to like unload themselves at that level and have another human being who actually holds that space for them and allows them to experiment with their expression without being attacked? So, as a man, when you practice this work, what you're going to do is you're going to actually provide space for other human beings in your life to experience their full expression without having to worry that you're going to attack them, you're going to shut them up, or that you're going to somehow interrupt, make a stupid joke because you can't handle what's about to happen. And this here, brothers, is the work of devotion. This here is actually the connection that you have with the field of possibility, because the field of possibility has abundance inside of it. And in that abundance means that uncertainty exists at high levels. So, where are you willing to hold high levels of uncertainty with the field of possibility? And this field is what I call God. And I would love to make clear that this God that I'm talking about is not the God you know. It's not the God that they talk to you about in the religious institutions that you may have been raised in. It's not the God that is the old white dude in the sky that you're going to have to beg, be afraid of, and ask for mercy. I'm not talking about that guy. That guy can stay outside of this room for a minute. I'm talking about God as the field of infinite possibility, that being, that entity, that energy that allows every moment to have infinite number of results in it. And I'm here to tell you that that field, which I call God, and you can call anything you want. You can call it universe, you can call it nature. The name of it is not important. But the field is ready to work with you. And this field wants to connect with you and through you. And if you're interested in the connection with the field of possibility, the first part of it is to prepare your nervous system. And once you prepare this nervous system, I'm happy to guide you through additional tools and practices that give you heightened levels of connection with the field of possibility. And in there is your intention, in there is your prayer, in there is your purpose in life as a man. And this is not a religious video, but I want you to know that whatever you're going through as a man, the more tension you're willing to hold around it, the more you will find your path. Because your tension is connected to your intention. So, how often in your life as a man do you have an intention, a desire that you put out there? And then when things become chaotic, things become uncertain, things become conflicting, things become chaotic, how often do you suddenly relinquish the tension on that intention? How often do you let go of that rubber band because you tell yourself, maybe it wasn't meant for me? Maybe I'm not worthy of this desire, this intention. And so, as you practice this with me, this is your desire, it's your prayer, it's your connection to the field of possibility. The more you hold, the more you're saying to the field of possibility that I believe in you, that I know that I don't have to figure out all the solutions, that if I can actually just deposit my intentions and hold, regardless of what happens around me, that I will actually get to my goals. And that I don't need to suffer and have all this commotion before my dreams come true. So, with that, brothers, I say thank you for watching this video. And I leave you with a prayer. If you'd please take a deep breath with me, I'm happy to share this prayer with you. And as you take one more deep breath, please relax your nervous system and recognize how you already know all of this information. Recognize how all of this information is already inside of you. and how easy it is to be present, to receive and remember this. Take one more deep breath with me. I say, God, angels, all beings of love and light, the entire field of possibility, we say thank you so much for being in our lives, that every moment is filled with opportunity. And we take this moment of gratitude to recognize that for every moment that we're holding our intention as men, what we're actually doing is we're sending a signal of faith into the field of possibility. And we're saying that every second that I'm holding my intention, I am worthy of receiving the gifts that are available to me through this field of possibility. And so I pray that whoever is watching this video has their nervous system expanded and strengthened through this video already, that they can step into spaces of uncertainty and not just survive in them, but they can thrive in spaces of uncertainty. That they start to take leadership, knowing that there is nothing too big for them. And that as they hold themselves in this field of uncertainty and possibility and miracle and opportunity, that they are gifted abundantly in terms of resource, in terms of energy, in terms of opportunity, and in terms of joy, so that they can share with the rest of the world how easy it is to stay in contact with the field of possibility through holding the tension. Thank you. Aho. Amen. I'll see you in my next video.